Hi, welcome everybody to our week 4 live session for DES 305 Web Portfolio Design. I am your instructor, Shannon McNamara, and this is a good week, I think, for live sessions. The reason why is I like to do my, what I call my go over everything that we have learned. Just do a recap. We're going to build a site from scratch again. So that way you can just kind of follow along. If you need a refresher on something, you can definitely find it in one of the 2 videos this week. I always find that to be a little bit helpful, especially when I was taking courses. If there was 1 or 2 videos where I knew everything would be located. So I figure, why not make that for our week 4? Because we're kind of repeating the process of what we've done weeks 1 through 3. So let's take a look at our agenda. I have a couple of announcements to go over. I want to discuss peer reviews, and then we will jump into Muse and start our recap. So, due dates. All work is due by Saturday at midnight. Your week 4 assignments cannot be turned in late. The course will turn into a pumpkin. It will not let you upload, and that will be the end of that. So make sure that you are getting those week 4, your week 4 assignments in on time, and any late work in on time. If you are trying to upload on Saturday, please don't wait until the end of the evening. The system tends to get bogged down on Saturday nights, especially week 4. So make sure that you are you've started the submission process well before midnight. You don't want to get halfway through uploading your files and then get kicked out of the system. I've seen that happen to students. Your original discussion post for this week, and there is a discussion post this week, is due by Wednesday at midnight, and then please respond to 2 of your fellow students also by Saturday and post on 2 different days. And I have late discussion posts will not be accepted past the Saturday deadline for this week, but nothing will be accepted past the Saturday deadline for this week. All right, so before we get into discussing our peer critique, let's go take a look at our announcements in the course. We have, I believe it used to be that the week 4 student survey that you need to take, it used to be that student survey opened up on Saturday night at midnight for week 4, but I believe that they have moved it to Thursday. So if you have not seen that, that survey, it might show up on Thursday. So I just want to let you know that that's kind of what's happening with that. There was a lot of confusion last month. I had a couple of students who had asked me about the survey and said that they hadn't seen it, and I wasn't quite sure because I don't see it on my end. So if you don't see it now, it might show up on Thursday, was the last information that I had gotten regarding that. And we have our Learning Coach hours for this week. Christy has hours on Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday is 12 to 7 p.m. and Thursday is 4 to 9 p.m. and those are Mountain Standard Time. So if you do need some extra help, please make sure that you are getting into the Student Success Center. There are a couple of learning coaches outside of Christy that can help out with Muse. If there isn't someone there when you do log in, just ask them if you can find out, when somebody will be in, if you do need some extra help outside of my hours. I also posted a YouTube video, which I think is great to watch, on a student art critique. So this has to do with our discussion for this week. So if you get a chance, please watch this YouTube video. I think it's a great, it was really a great video of an art critique happening that was videotaped in a classroom. And I think it was a really good representation of how to, respond to other students and how to critique other students' work, which can be a little bit difficult. Hi, Erin. I'm glad you were able to make it tonight. I saw that you were there. I just didn't get a chance to say hello yet. So I think that, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to critique your fellow students, but it's really important to, offer a good critique. And I think that video was definitely worth watching. So let's jump over into the course and take a look at what we have for this week. So our discussion this week is on the design process. So let's just read it together. Understanding your design process is very important when communicating your work to a potential client or employer. They will want to know how you came up with your concept. The best and easiest way to do this is to go back to ground zero and determine what the problem you were asked to solve was. With many school projects, you were given briefs to work with and didn't write them yourself, but you still solved the design problem. You may think the design speaks for itself. I shouldn't have to explain it. Agreed, but that is not what this discussion is about. You will be sharing your design process by answering the following questions. What was the client's problem presented? That's your first question. Example, low sales, new product, new target market, whatever was discussed in the brief. What methods did you explore to solve the problem? Different slogans, using color to motivate, extreme cropping, whatever type of things you tried until you came up with the final solution you are showing in your portfolio. And then 3, why do you feel your final solution was the best direction? So example, after experimenting with numerous slogans, the final one imbued the best call to action for the new product launch. This may seem very cumbersome at first, but the more you force yourself to write down your design process, the better you will be able to communicate with potential clients or employers your creative vision. And believe me, when you go on interviews, you will be asked these types of questions. So it's really good to, get into the habit of answering them in this way. So here's your prompt. For this discussion, follow the process above and embed images of at least 3 of your portfolio pieces. Please do not link the images so your classmates have to download them. You need to embed them into the discussion. Your fellow classmates will give you constructive feedback. If you agree or like something that they have done, then tell them why. If you have suggestions on improving their design, be respectful. And please give everyone a chance to receive feedback. So when you go in to do your replies, if you see a post that hasn't had feedback yet, help your fellow student out by giving them feedback. This is a perfect opportunity to not just do the bare minimum to get a grade, help each other out. What you may learn from collaboration will make you stronger designers. Just because you are not all experts at design yet doesn't mean you can't learn from each other. With the guidance of your instructors and feedback from your classmates, you should come out of this course with potentially strong portfolio pieces. For your citation, you might use articles that show examples of constructive criticism. You can also find articles from experts that suggest ways to interpret criticism positively and learn not how to take it as a personal attack. Your initial and reply posts should work to develop a group understanding of this topic, challenge each other, build on each other, and always be respectful, but discuss this and figure it out together. So, per the due dates and participation requirements for this course, you must submit 1 main post of 200 plus words, 2 APA citations and references, as well as 2 follow-up posts of 50 plus words each. So I kind of gave you a little bit of a write-up on how to give constructive feedback. Oh, yes, exactly. You were asked those questions when you were on, when you showed your portfolio. Yes, I've been asked those questions many times. And I'm not going to lie, the first time that I went into an interview for a design job and I was asked about my design process, I went, I'm not quite sure, and I was really nervous. And now when I go in, I tell people, this is how I tackle the problem. I look at it this way, and that is definitely. Oh, I apologize. I'm gonna let him upstairs. I will be right back. Sorry about that. Usually he just sits down here and sleeps, but the Peapod guy came and delivered our groceries, so he's very agitated. So yeah, it's, you definitely want to make sure that you have an answer to those questions, because if you don't, it's going to reflect poorly on you in your interview. They're going to think that you don't have a process, and you really should have a process for tackling these sorts of problems, for tackling a design problem. I usually go into things the same way every single time. So at this point, I just tell, an interviewer, I say, all right, what is the problem that you're presenting me with? Do you need something rebranded? Well, let's look at, your current branding. Let's look at the reasons why it's not working. Let's break it down. Let's look at the design itself. Let's look at the message and how it's getting out there. If the problem is with the message, let's come up with a couple of different slogans. Let's try those slogans out. I would try them out on a couple of different people who are not design people to see if, they understand the message that we're trying to sell. And then from there, do we need to look at our ad campaign and redesign? Do we need to look at the colors? Do we need to look and see if, it's just possibly imagery that's not working out? So these are the things that I usually go through when I have an interview. So, think back to how you've tackled those problems when we're putting together these designs for the different classes, and, kind of come up with the system, or write down, all right, first I did this, then I did this, then I did this. When my other teacher said that designers are problem solvers, we really are problem solvers. Exactly. That is, I would say that's probably our number one job, because there's a reason why a client came to us. It's that they have a problem that they themselves cannot solve. And that makes us problem solvers. All right. So back to that peer critique. I'm just going to go into full screen here. So why do we peer critique? Seriously, why do we ask, each other to critique our work? And most writers, designers, and artists depend upon feedback from others in their field to improve their work. So to encourage this habit, you've been asked to critique the work of your fellow students in the discussion board this week. This critique is taken seriously. Your role is to help your fellow designers improve the piece and the quality of the work that they have submitted. So why is critique so important? A designer does not design in a vacuum. A good designer will need to learn to take the feedback from their peers, clients, and bosses to solve a particular design problem. Critiques will also help you broaden your communication skills as a designer, as there is always the opportunity to articulate why you did what you did, or to better explain your idea to the reviewer if they don't see it as clearly as you do. A good critique can involve both positive and negative feedback, which can be tricky to navigate. So this is how I tell people, and this is based on some reading and research that I've done, and also critiques that I've been a part of. How to give a good critique, the love sandwich. The best way to approach critiquing someone else's work is to sandwich the feedback with love. If you think of your critique as the sandwich, the bread would be what you love about the work, and the middle, or the filling, would be what you didn't like as much and, needs some work. First, tell your fellow designer what aspects you like about the piece, whatever they may be. Be descriptive, though. Instead of just saying, I like it. That's so vague. And it's kind of a cop-out to doing a real critique. That is not a critique. If I see, I just like your work, I wouldn't change anything, that's not a critique. You're not giving a good critique, and you will be graded accordingly. Explain why you like it using specific examples from the design whenever possible. Next, move on to your constructive criticism. If you think certain aspects of a design aren't working, try to explain why, or offer suggestions on how you feel that they can be improved. Asking the designer questions may help them to see problems in the execution of the design that they may not have seen on their own. You may also want to limit your use of pronouns like you, and make it more about the work itself, not about the designer. We all feel personally about our work, but during a critique, it's definitely best to separate the person from the piece. So for example, say you have a critique about a line intersection. You may want to say the way this line intersects with that line instead of the way you intersected this line with that line. This will help reassure the designer that the criticism is about the work. It's not about them as designers. So that's something that we always have to remember. And the point of a critique and giving a critique is to ultimately make everyone a better designer and to ultimately make the work better. I have to give a critique every single time I grade one of your pieces. And if there's something that I am not happy with, or I'm not seeing it the same way as you during the grading process, this is nothing I have against you as a designer. I'm trying to make your work better. If I gave everybody in this course an A and said, great job, no matter what was submitted, would you ultimately leave this course learning more than what you knew coming in? Probably not. I mean, the whole point of this is to learn. If you knew everything, you would not be going to school right now. You would be in your career, or you would have a need to have this degree because you would know everything. And as a designer, I can tell you, you will never know everything, because design is constantly changing. And the minute that you do think that you know everything is the minute that you might as well hang up your design hat and call it a day. Because if you're not willing to keep growing and learning as a designer, you're going to really miss out on trends, on other jobs. There's so much you're going to miss out on. And I am constantly learning as a designer. I don't think I will ever stop learning as a designer. And if I do, then I should stop designing. I should just hang up my hat. I think that there's always something to learn. And I think that there's always something to be gained by having my work critiqued as well. Every time I do something, every time I design a website, I post it on my Facebook page. I say, hey, can you guys take a look at this and let me know if a link isn't working, if something doesn't make sense, if the layout doesn't look right to you. Let me know if this, needs some work, if you would change things around. Give me your honest opinion. And I've been doing this for 20 years now, so I've learned not to take it personally. But sometimes, if somebody's like, I just don't like it, I'm like, oh, all right, well, that kind of stung. But, you learn to roll with it. It just is what it is. If you have to have a really shiny spot and tough spine to do design. I say that all the time. It takes a thick skin to put our work out there every single day, because whether we're designing it for ourselves, for school, or whether we are designing it for a client, it's going to be a very rare occasion that it comes back without any changes. So don't take it personal. Everything is meant to be a learning experience. Exactly. So you don't have to agree or like the decisions of the designers, but their work deserves an honest feedback. So put yourself in their shoes. If they are brave enough to share their work and ask for your feedback, then they deserve to get that, both the good and the bad. And then finally, don't forget to repeat or elaborate on what you like about the piece so the critique ends on a positive note. This way the designer knows the piece may need some reworking, but there are also aspects of the design that work as is. You definitely want to let them know, but hey, in the end, I really did like the piece, even though, I think maybe I would have gone with a different font choice and made the font a little bit bigger, or maybe not so bold right here. It's very rare that something is perfect. If it was perfect, you probably would have designed it that way, exactly like that. So think about it that way too. And then how to receive critique well, a grain of salt. Hopefully your fellow designers will also follow the love sandwich guidelines and give you a great, honest critique. During a critique, it's important that when you hear the good and the bad feedback, that you take it with stride. Design isn't math. There are no right and wrong answers, only subjective opinions that may differ from one designer to another. So again, somebody may critique something based on the way that they would design it, which is obviously different from the way you designed it because you aren't using the same brain. You don't have the same thought process to put something together. That being said, remember that a critique is about your work and making it the best that it can be, and that it shouldn't be about you. If you disagree with specific feedback, explain your decisions thoughtfully, but also listen to what's being said. Really stop and listen to what's being said. Remember that those who are giving critiques generally do so because they want to help you grow as a designer. So try not to get defensive or take that criticism personally. And if you don't agree with specific comments you received during a critique, it's okay to ask for other opinions too. There are online resources like Dribbble or Behance that you can log into and share your work with others around the globe. Anyone, even a non-designer friend or coworker whom you trust to give honest and constructive feedback, can be a good resource. Again, that's where putting that work out there on Facebook sometimes helps. I'm sure that your friends list isn't full of designers. I'm sure you're going to get somebody's grandmother who has some thoughts on it. So, that you might be friends with that you completely forgot you were friends with until they decide to give you a critique of your work. And a good round of feedback is always better than no feedback at all. All right. So with that being said, please critique responsibly this week. I also want to pop back in and just take a look at the week 4 assignment. All right, so for this week, we're going to be adding the finishing touches to your site. So you will be implementing revisions and additions to your portfolio website using the advanced features that you learned about in week 1 and week 2. Also, please, take into consideration the feedback that you received in your grading last week on your portfolio site. If you submitted your work late, there is a chance that I did not get it graded. I saw that there were a couple of things before I started the live session today that I had to grade. So I will try to get on that tomorrow morning, just so that way everybody has, all of their feedback going into this week. So part 1, revise your portfolio slider. Include at least a sentence description of each piece of artwork that you are showcasing. Include at least 2 advanced Muse features. So it could be a homepage slider, a panel, a mobile menu. You should have a mobile menu, honestly, because you're going to be adding breakpoints. So that mobile menu should definitely be one of your features. And, social different compositions or social widgets. After watching the live lecture, use this Muse widget website, which I will open up. And it says, or one you find, to download and implement a third-party plugin for the homepage. Remember how I went over this in week 1? Muse has gotten extremely picky with third-party widgets and not allowing them to work, which they used to work just fine when this course was written. So, with that being said, please try to stick to this website if I find that these ones work the best. Other ones that I have found online, just looking, it's kind of been hit or miss. So, I honestly wouldn't bother downloading all of these widgets that may or may not work and just driving yourself completely batty about it. And please, use one that's free. Don't spend any money this week. And select a third-party plugin that enhances your portfolio. Next, you're going to be adding those breakpoints. So the 768 for iPad viewing and the 360 for mobile. I was actually putting together a website this weekend that I'm working on, and I decided during that time, I always use the 768 and the 360 breakpoints as well. And I have an iPhone 6. I'm not sure what everybody else has for cell phones. Like I don't have like the 6S or anything. I have an older version of the 6. And I find that the 6 screen size is somewhere in between the 768 and the 360. So make sure that you're moving that scrubber, you know, to make sure that your website, okay, that's probably around the same size. Probably screen size. So make sure that you're using that scrubber and that your website looks correct in between that 768 to 360, because I find that most smartphones these days, the width of the screen is somewhere in between those 2 breakpoints. So you want to make sure that your site is working correctly in between those 2 breakpoints. Use the linked mobile menu library file and import it into Muse. So you're going to hide that's the same one that we used last week, or week 3, yes. Hide the interactive menu, drag the mobile menu file to the master, design that mobile menu, and then hide the mobile menu and other breakpoints. You're going to add SEO. So those are image alt tags in the descriptions on your pages for SEO, and then you're going to publish your site to the Adobe Business Catalyst server, and you're going to submit the URL of your live website and your Muse file. You need to submit both. If you are having trouble uploading your Muse file, please visit the Student Success Center and see if somebody can take a look. You know, because those files should not be so big that you can't upload them. And make sure you're reading over the rubric for this week so you've met all of the criteria. And then for week 4, we also have a final quiz. So this is on material that has been covered throughout the course. It's from the learning objectives that were covered in the live sections, the readings, and the lynda.com video tutorials. So if you've successfully followed along in the course and you've turned in all of your assignments and you've received a passing grade, you should not have a problem with this quiz. There are 7 questions that are worth 5 points each. There's no time limit. So if you hit a question and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not sure, go into a new tab and try to look up the answer. And there's no time limit on the quiz. So, but you can only take it once. So, you know, if you hit a question that you're not really sure, stop what you're doing and look it up. There's no reason that you shouldn't get 100 on this because you're not being timed. And then we have, last but not least, our week 4 career integration quiz. Those are the 3 questions, you know, what you have received or found of most value in the readings, and that can include the lynda.com tutorial videos, what you have found the most value from my lectures and why, and what you have found the most value from the assignments and why. And I really read over your answers and take what you say to heart. I've changed up some of the ways that I teach based on answers that I've gotten in the week 4 career integration quiz. My best example is probably that I tried not to use quick keys in my live lectures because I understand a lot of people don't know the quick keys. And if I do use a quick key, I try to tell you, you know, what that quick key is. So that way, you know, you can kind of learn to get a little bit faster in the program, but I also want to show where it's located. And case in point, I'm currently working along with a lynda.com tutorial series, and the person teaching the course uses all quick keys, which I'm really surprised for lynda.com, I'm not going to lie, and also goes so fast that the 16 minutes of video that I have been watching, I have had to go back and rewatch parts to the point where it's taken me almost 2 hours to get through those 16 minutes, which is obviously ridiculous. So, you know, I keep all of these things in mind about how I hate to learn, and I try to tailor how I teach to not do any of those things. Like, you know, I'm definitely going to go a little bit faster on this recap this week, but I would never teach an introductory course on a program and go so fast that somebody can't follow along who is, you know, definitely fluid in other Adobe programs. So, that's what I mean. Like, if you have some good constructive criticism for me, I am always open to it in the career integration quiz. All right, so let's get back into Muse. And again, I'm going to build a new site this week. So I'm going to open up some files and put some text. I like to type out my text in Word before I import it into Muse or Dreamweaver or wherever it is that I am creating my website in. And the reason why is Muse, Word is going to catch any of my spelling or grammatical errors and things of that nature. That's what that says, but okay. And C Street is spelled correctly. So I'm going to make a site based on Martha's Vineyard because I like it there. I'm from Massachusetts, and getting to Martha's Vineyard, I'm going to pretend that I'm building a site for the island to attract visitors to the island today. So I'm going to start off right from the beginning. I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to make my max page width 1200 pixels because I just like that to be the size that I'm designing at. I'm going to do 12 columns so it sets me up with a nice little grid. And I'm going to definitely want a sticky footer, and I'm going to leave my other options exactly what it is. One thing I want to point out, which you guys may have noticed, you'll notice that there's a min width of 320, and you may think to yourself, like, why can't I make my min width 360 and just make that my breakpoint? Unfortunately, it does not work that way. I've tried it in the past, like thinking like maybe that would be a great way to do a default breakpoint, but unfortunately doesn't do it. Don't know why, but it just doesn't do it for you. You would think it would, but alas, no. And I'm going to hit OK. So I need to have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. My home page, which is normally when you are working in Dreamweaver or any HTML code, you name your homepage index. So I'm kind of preset to just name everything associated with my homepage index, but in Muse you don't have to do that. So I'm going to have a homepage, I'm going to have an about page, a dining page, and a contact page. So I wanted to go in order of home, dining, about, contact, and then off of my contact page, I'm going to send my form to a thank you page instead of having it come back. You guys always have it come back to your home page. I'm going to have it come back to my thank you page. And I'm going to go into my master, because I'm going to, again, start off in your master. And I have my header area, and I have my footer area. And I have some images in here. Let me make sure I do have my logo. There we go. I have a pattern background I'm going to put in the site. And I have some other images for my homepage, a nice little fairy image. I have a lobster roll for my dining page, and I have a big seafood platter for my dining page as well. I think I have another fairy. Yes, I do. And the Island Queen right there. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my browser fill, my background, to that pattern that I have. So I go to browser fill, click add image, and I'm going to navigate. I need to get back into that site. So again, it's always good to have a system where you have your files so you can locate them easier. Swirl pattern. And to name things, with a name that makes sense. Hey Dallas, glad you were able to make it today. Just to let you know, we're doing a broad Muse recap of just building a site from scratch so we can kind of hit all of the different points that we went over in you know, this entire mod. All right, I'm gonna make my header area probably, I'm gonna make it like 200 pixels high because I've got some information I'm gonna put in there, and I like to have a little bit of room between my menu items and my logo and then the rest of the body of my page. So I'm also going to, I think, make my footer area about 100 pixels as well. So from 400 to 500, it's 100 pixels. And I'm going to work from the top down. So I'm going to design my header area first. I'm going to place my logo in here. But actually, I should probably make my navigation first. And that way I can place my logo around that. So I'm going to go to my widgets library. Go to menus, I'm going to grab a horizontal menu, drag that in, and normally I would probably want to give an option, kind of going back to my my setup here, and say, you know, I would want to have an option to be able to click to my thank you page. Or if I was doing an about page, you know, that had two options off of it, I would probably want to have that option to be able to navigate directly to it. But in this instance, I really don't need people to ever be able to navigate to my thank you page because it's only ever going to load and say thank you for submitting a form. So I don't need to be worried about that option in my menu. If I was, what I can do is I can show label for some menus, put it on, and you know, or do some menus only. I'm going to have those the icon off because I don't want somebody to just randomly navigate down to my menu. Or I can say all pages, which would then show that thank you page. You know, just letting you know my thought process here. I'm going to change my font from Helvetica to my Source Sans Pro, which seems to kind of be my default font that I use. And I'll go with black. Because this is a menu and I want, you know, to be easily readable, I'm going to go with at least 18 point, although black is a little bit, maybe bold. There we go. All right, and I'm going to stretch this menu right across the page here. And this is not a very pretty color scheme. I actually have a CC library, which I'm going to pull out. It's an old one, I believe. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? Here, I'll go with this one. I have two good color themes for this add to swatches and add to swatches. There we go. For the site. So I'm going to just use that, dock that back in there. All right. So then to change the options in my menu, I did that whole click, 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 click thing, which is, I think, probably the most annoying feature that Muse has. I'm not going to lie. I'm so annoyed by that feature, but it is what it is, and the rest of Muse is pretty easy to use. So I let it go, but it kind of drives me bananas trying to do that click, 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 click thing and figure out where it is that I've clicked. So click till I get to fill. I do not want this gray color. I want, come on, Muse. Apparently you have to right click, add to swatches on every single swatch, not white. Oh, some of them will add the whole panel to your swatches, which is great. There we go. All right, so fill. I'm gonna go with this blue. That's my normal. My rollover, I want to use that fun pink just because it's fun. But for the text color, I'm going to go with this almost black, not exactly black. It's like 90%, although that doesn't look right. So let me go with this one. No. Ugh. Black. Nope, black. Come on. 90% black. There we go. And I wish you could right click and add it to a swatch, but we can't. Oh, wait, new. There we go. New swatch. Okay, there we go. Whew. This is also where I think Adobe needs to get on the same page and make everything work the same across their platforms. But I say this every time I have to do anything, it seems like. I'm going to go with this blue again, but I'm going to make it darker for my mouse down. But I think the text should definitely be white there. And for active, I'm going to go with, and I don't know why it does this. You'll notice it changes the font for everything except for active when you just select your menu. And then for some reason for active, you have to select your font again, which again, I find to be extremely annoying. This one I'm going to do black, 18-point type. Although, I feel like that's almost too bold. Let's try, if I want to look different. Let's try 20, maybe space, no. No. We'll just go with bold again. That's fine, but this color's got to go. And for a fill color, I'm going to do something fun like yellow with the text color dark. I don't know about that. Maybe. Oh, that's cool. We'll do that with the text color of black. Yeah. Or white. Yeah. No. The almost black. I think that's good. All right. So here's my menu. And I'm going to place, again, File Place or Command D, my logo. And I always want my logo to link back to my homepage, because most websites have a logo that links back to the homepage. That looks really low res. Why? Oh, all right, that was weird. All right. And I'll center that on the screen. And again, I'm going to link that back. So with the logo selected, I'm going to hyperlink it back to my home page. Zoom out a little. You can double check that this is centered by aligning it. It's good. And I'm going to build up my footer next. So I'm going to draw a rectangle down here. And I want it to always stretch to the browser width, and make sure anything that goes into your footer is check marked as a footer item. And I'm going to fill it with maybe this brown. Nah, we'll go black. 100% black. I was gonna think like maybe that brown, but that's honestly, it works for the sand color of the logo, but that kind of looks kind of crappy down at the bottom as brown. So I'll stick with the black. All right, and I'm going to place my social media logos down there. So again, I need to remember, all right, I have a dark background So I need to realize what color social media logos I can use. So I might have to refer back, especially on Instagram, brand assets. And that is bright. So they have a black and they have a colored icon. Usually they show how you can use it. Anyone using Instagram's assets should only use logos and screenshots found on our brand resources site and follow these guidelines. Can't use it any larger than 8.5 by 11, or you need to request permission. Balance the Instagram brand with your brand. Your brand should be the focus, not Instagram. Keep it consistent. Distance Instagram from other social networks. Instagram may be mentioned in a television commercial with Facebook or other Facebook companies. Okay. So they don't really get into too much how it needs to look, unless if they show some screenshots, which they don't. All right, so I'm going to use the colored logo then, because it looks like that's fine. So place this one. And again, I want to set these as hyperlinks, and I want them to open up outside of my site. I don't want people to, go to my site and all of a sudden they're on Instagram. So yeah, a lot of the social media ones, Facebook is very specific in their brand resources. They have which was why I find it surprising, because they own Instagram now, which is why you can mention Facebook and Instagram together on a television commercial. But I'm very surprised that they didn't get that in depth about the Instagram logo. But there's really only 2 versions of the Instagram logo, and I feel like there's 100 versions now of the Facebook logo that you can download. All right, so I'm going to just link it to Instagram.com, and I would normally have a Martha's Vineyard social media site that I would link it to, but I don't know that off the top of my head. So under hyperlinks, I want to click open the link in a new tab or window, because I don't want people to navigate away from my site. All right, I'm going to zoom in. And again, I placed a logo down here. I want to double check that it's a footer item. If that isn't checked, it will have a tendency to float outside of your footer. It just floats somewhere in your page. I had that happen to me once, and I was like, why is that doing that? It's clearly located in my footer. It was because I hadn't clicked that footer check mark. So I want to align this to the middle and probably just scooch it down just a little bit. All right, there we go. I'll drop a rule so I can make sure all of my other social media icons are the same size. And I'm going to just kind of post them right inside these grid areas. All right, so I'm going to do Facebook next, because Facebook and Instagram can be near each other. But again, I'm not going to use the blue Facebook logo because I have a black background. I need to use the white Facebook logo, which I don't have here. I have somewhere else. Oops. I think I have it in here. There we go. Probably need about 100 pixels high. Place that Facebook logo. All right. Equal distance. Again, I'm going to hyperlink it to facebook.com and open it in a new tab or window. And this is a personal preference, but I think your social media, I don't know why, but I always feel that it should go Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I just feel like it rolls off the tongue saying it that way. So why not set it up that way? And then back to my original place, I do have the white Twitter logo in here. It's a little bit bigger, just in case. Yeah. All right. And oh, link that to Twitter. And open it in a new tab or window. There we go. And I am going to put my menu down in the footer as well. I'm going to just kind of, oh yeah, I guess I did do it in alphabetical order. Ha, I didn't even notice I did that. You're right. Yep. Good eyes, or good deduction. All right, so I'm just going to typeset. You know, there's a couple of different ways. You can always make a copy of your menu and put it down here. Or you can typeset it. You can put buttons down here that will relink back to the different pages. You know, like I said, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. So if I was going to make a copy of my logo, of my menu, I would hold down my Option key and drag and bring it to the front. And then I might want to just take the color off. Click, fill, none, normal, rollover, instead of it having a color on the outside. Maybe I change the text to that color, and then again, the fill is none on a rollover. Mouse down, again, no color. Maybe it's very light blue on mouse down, and active, change the text to that color, and then the fill to nothing. So that's one way you can do it. You can just typeset. You know, oops, home, and hyperlink it, you know, to each page. There's, you know, you can use a button, which would be in your widgets library. Just go to buttons and do a state button. Again, name it home. And then grab the button and hyperlink it to the home page. There's a couple of different ways. Seeing as I already have my menu down here, I'll just leave it as that. But again, because I made a copy of something from my header, the reason why I put the menu in the header and the footer is because if somebody scrolled, all right, let's say that my page has a ton of information and they've scrolled like really far down. I don't want them to have to scroll all the way back up to go to the next page. I like to give people the option to, you know, go to the next page from the footer. Some people also like to put their social media icons in the header as well, up with their logo. So they might put their logo to the left and run some of their social media icons up in the header. I've seen it both ways. Sometimes I do it both ways. It's just kind of making it a little bit easier on, you know, the people who are at your site. Like, I think of, before I start a site or start designing a site, I think of all of the different things that I like that work. And I try to, you know, I try to do things based on that. Like, hey, I really like when this works, or I go to a site and that happens, and I really hate when I get down to the bottom and there's no way for me to go to the next page or scroll back up. Like one of the things I hate in Canvas, and I can't be the only one, is when I'm in the discussion questions, I hate, like, let me just go to, I'll show you what I mean. Like week 3's discussion has everybody's discussions in there. So let's say like I need to reply to something, or I personally need to reply to something, and there's no way to get back up to the top. Like, you know, I've replied and it brings me all the way down to the bottom where my reply is now located, and I want to go back to the rest of the course. You know, I'm all the way down here, and I now have to scroll up, you know, to get back to the rest of the course. Oh, I can't stand that in Canvas. And I don't know why there's not like a top button, or, you know, even like why doesn't the navigation move with the screen or something like that, you know? So there's a couple of different ways. Like, yeah, definitely adding a top button, that definitely can do it as well. You know, it's just little different things that you can do to kind of help out people who are on your site and make your site more user-friendly. I've actually written to Canvas, and I'm like, you know what you really need to do? You really need to fix those discussion pages so you can get back into the course a little bit easier. It takes me forever. Drives me bananas. So I copied my menu into the footer, and because I copied it from my header and then I dragged it in, you will notice footer is not checked. So if I go and let me just put like something random on my page, like this box here, this blue box, and then preview. And it works sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes, like, as you'll start to close like the page, like your menu items might end up like up here, or things that aren't secured in your footer when you bring it into the browser might start to do something weird. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen, but, you know, definitely err on the side of caution, and anything that's in the footer should be checked. All right, so I've pretty much got my master page right now, how I want it set up. I'm not going to do any of my breakpoints. I'll do those sort of things tomorrow. So let's get into my home page, where I've made this nice big rectangle, which is fine because you know me, I like to design with rectangles. I'm going to leave that there so I have a little bit more space to work in. And that looks good because that's kind of consistent in the design, and I've kind of got a beach theme going on here. So I want to go back into my Word file, and I've got Martha's Vineyard. That's just kind of my logo. And then I have this big headline here that says Getting to Martha's Vineyard. So that would be my H1 headline technically. So I'm going to copy that. And I always copy and paste text from Word into Dreamweaver, because then I don't have to worry that I might have misspelled something when I'm retyping it. So I'm going to draw my text box, Getting to Martha's Vineyard. I'm going to go into paragraph styles, and I'm going to leave that open for a second and open up, whoops, pull it out, I guess. There we go. And I need to have some consistency here with my fonts. This time I am going to use black. And for color, I'm going to use that like almost black. Just a little bit easier on the eyes. And I want it centered. Maybe 60 point. All right, so Getting to Martha's Vineyard is now Source Sans Pro Black, 60 point, and centered. So I'm going to make a new paragraph style. I'm going to double click. And this I want to be my headline style. So I'm going to name it H1 and name it headline under the paragraph tag. This is going to change that coding. So this is good, again, for your SEO. And one thing to keep in mind, a page should only have one H1 tag. Each page can have an H1 tag, but it cannot have more than one H1 tag. Like you can't have more than one H1 headline. It's a rule for the W3C, and it'll come back that there's an error on your site. So keep that in mind. All right, so getting to Martha's Vineyard. Keep that open so when it resizes. These are just things I kind of think about, like the text boxes resizing when I'm making these decisions. I wonder if I can make it to 768 without that font changing. I cannot. These are the things I think about when I'm creating my sites. All right, I know I'm going to have a breakpoint at 768, and I really want my headline right up to that breakpoint to stay on one line. So what I need to do is I just need to adjust my font size accordingly back down to 56. So I did that, and then I'm going to hover. I believe it's this one. Well, there we go. Redefine selected style from the attributes applied. So now my H1 is 56 point type centered, just because, you know, it makes more sense for me to not have to deal with that later on when I'm putting in that breakpoint. And this is where your planning kind of comes in. You know, why make more work for yourself, basically. All right, and then I have a nice big image underneath this getting to Martha's Vineyard. So I want to place my big ferry, here it is, my big ferry picture. And make sure that that's centered in the center of the page. Go. And then underneath this, I have a little bit of a write-up here. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to extend or bring down my rectangle so I have a little bit more room to work with. And draw a text box that's the width of my image here. My image almost goes to this guide, so I'm just gonna get that to go to that guide. Come on. And paste my text in, and you'll notice it didn't keep that formatting of the spacing between the paragraphs, so I'm gonna have to manually fix that. And everything defaults to Arial. So Source Sans Pro, I'm gonna go with regular. All text body copy should be at least 16 point type. So I'm gonna change that to 16 point type, and I'm gonna zoom in a little. And select this again, and I'm gonna increase the spacing to 125 between the lines. And then I'm also going to add in some space before a paragraph. Oh, whoops, no, I want to do it after. I don't want it at the top of the box. So maybe 16 as well. Actually, I think I can do with a little bit more line spacing, because remember, this is the internet, and I want to make sure people can read this, okay? So maybe 140%. There we go. So I think that this is some good body copy. So again, I'm going to, in paragraph styles, I'm going to make a new paragraph style, and this is going to be my paragraph tag. So I'm just going to name this P, and I'm even going to say, you know, Source Sans Pro Reg, just so I remember 16. So that way if I'm thinking, I'm like, wait, what size was that? You know, I kind of have an idea of what's going on in that. All right, there we go. And then I have 3 featured listings. So I think the best way to deal, and I have a sidebar as well. I think the best way to deal with the 3 featured listings is I am going to make a panel and put those 3 different listings inside the panel. So I want to do a tabbed panel for this. So I'm going to drag my tabbed panel out. And I'll deal with those options later. But I want to look at my grid right now because I also need a sidebar. So how wide do I want my sidebar to be? Maybe from here to here. And then I want to extend my panel. Like I just want to make sure that things are adhering to my grid. So for now, I'm just going to draw a rectangular box and I'll fill it with that blue color. So it stands out from my footer, which is colored in, but it also, you know, stands out from everything else. And extend that. Maybe these need a little bit more space. Maybe that's a good size. There we go. Everything's nice and neat. I'll line these to the top. And change the font here. Just quick, I'm just going to change it to my paragraph style so I can change everything. And I'll deal with making these a little bit bolder. All right, so let's change some of the options in these containers because everything's gray. First off, I want to center the text just so it's not running right up to the side. And I'm probably going to make the text in the tabs bold. And I don't want to leave, I don't think I want to leave the fill color as white. Maybe I'll change it to, click, there we go. Maybe change it to this light blue. That's kind of pretty. Or maybe change it to this teal and then make this a light blue. Let's look. Let's see how that looks. It's kind of nice. All right, so that's, let's see, my normal rollover, change to the pink so it kind of does the same. Oh, come on. Active. There we go. All right, normal. Maybe blue. Maybe that. No, I'm going to leave it there. That's normal. Roll over. Do my pink. Not with that color though. Black. Mouse down. Oh. One more. There we go. Normal. Active. There we go. Roll over. These ones are a little bit weird. Mouse down. Could do that darker blue. White font. And all right, mouse down, roll over, normal. I have a bad feeling about the font on this, so let me try to change that again. Black, 16. I'm going to preview this just to make sure that this tab is correct. feel like that got a little weird when I was trying to. All right. That's okay. All right. That's okay for now. I might change it, but. All right. So my first one is going to be Island Queen Fairy. Oh, and I need to add featured listings. So I'm going to put that. Well, this one is the featured listing. All right. So Island Queen Fairy will go in the tab panel where it says Lorem Ipsum, Island Queen Fairy. And then I'm going to say featured listing because it's the first one. And probably change this to italic. Maybe bold italic because I don't have a regular italics. And you may not notice, you probably can't tell, but I have these set up as hyperlinks to each of the fairy places. So let me go in. Oh, well, that's a bummer. islandqueenfairy.com or islandqueen.com. There we go. Oh, they're closed for the season. So sad. Always happens in New England. All right. So I'm going to hyperlink the name of the fairy to the website. So I'm going to go up to add filter links. I'm going to copy and paste in the URL. And you'll notice it makes it, because it's text, it makes it this blue, the ugly 1990s blue link color with an underline. So I need to either make a new default set or edit the default that's in there. And I also want to open in a new tab. So I'm going to click that. And I'm going to go into edit link styles. And I'm going to just redo the default. So I'm going to turn off that underline because I think people know what people know that it's a link if you have something that, hovers and it changes their mouse now. You don't need to show it as being underlined. Normal will be that black color. Hover will be pink. Visited will be that blue. Active will be this teal. We'll see how this works. And I am going to make this bold. And a little bit bigger. It is my featured listing. And then what else I'm going to do is I am going to make the phone number a hyperlink as well. So I'm going to copy the phone number in. I might have to change the dots to dashes. And you'll see it automatically puts it as a telephone link. Open in a new tab. And because I changed that default link style, it's not doing all of those ugly, ugly things with my links. All right, and then I want to have the Island Queen Fairy image. So I'm just going to click on the image that's already in there. I'm going to do Command D and change it to the Island Queen. Which didn't do. Oh, there we go. And that looks good. And fix the next tab, which is the C Streak Martha's Vineyard. Ooh, and that's getting close. Maybe do it on 2 lines. There we go. Again, change the font. And copy all this information in. Now, what I should do, and I should have done on this tab, is this is a good size for heading 2. So I'm going to make a new paragraph style, and I'm going to call it heading 2, a subheadline. Name it H2. So that way I can use this font size for each of these. There we go. And this needs a hyperlink as well. C Street, Martha's Vineyard. Whoops. Copy the URL. And tell it to open in a new tab. And I don't have an image to go with this one, so I'm just going to delete out the image. And I'll extend this information across the box. All right, and last but not least, change that. This is where those paragraph styles really come into play. They make your life so much easier. Next, I have Highline Cruises. Oops. Oh, keep going back to the wrong thing. And change that to my H2. Copy the phone number. I think I forgot to do the phone number on one of them. I have to check. And then copy the URL. So select the whole line. And open that in a new tab. And let's double check. I know I missed a phone number somewhere. I think it was this one. Copy. There we go. And I missed the default image right there. Delete that. And again, move this over so there's some consistency. Perfect. All right, so what do I have left on this page? Oh, ferry trip tips. Got 2 tips. And then I had apparently a copyright, but I'm not going to bother with that. That's fine. So draw myself a text box. Probably line it up with come on. That looks about right. And first I'll just change it to the correct paragraph text. And then this is an H2 headline. Get rid of that extra one. I'll center this. Probably turn there. Make it the same size. So just for some consistency. and delete out, although that brings that right up. So I'm going to just change the color of that to none because I want that extra space at the bottom. I hate when things are running right on top of the footer. Give yourself some breathing room. And save, because I have not saved my site. Save site as. Woo! And let's preview this page in the browser, or preview the site in the browser. So we can check the navigation, make sure everything's okay. All right, so I like that. Again, to Martha's Vineyard. I think that the dark blue is a little weird, so I think we'll change it to this one. Double check my link. And this is clearly opening up in the same tab, which is weird. So we should double check that. I could have sworn I clicked. Oh, maybe I didn't. See? That's why it's always good to preview things. Because I missed putting that, putting one as open in a new tab. So fix that. There we go. And I don't like that color scheme, that what's going on with the mouse down, so I'm going to change that to this blue. And there was one other thing that I wanted to do. Oh, so I think it would be cool if getting to Martha's Vineyard, if this was a clickable link that scrolled me right down to where the different island ferries are. Like, to me, I think that that'd be kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drop an anchor down here. This is that anchor tool. We haven't really gone over this tool. I'm going to drop an anchor right here. Yeah, it always defaults to rename anchor. There we go. To Untitled. I'm going to name it Ferry. So I had to right click and rename it. Then up here, I'm going to select Getting to Martha's Vineyard. I'm going to add a hyperlink to Ferry. And we can watch what happens. Let's save this. And preview site in browser. Close the old one. So now this is a link, and when I scroll, it scrolls me right down to the ferries. Which I like that, you know, that's kind of cool. And then if I wanted to, I could download a widget from a third-party widget. Where was that? Where am I? Where am I? Oh, right here. I know they have a top one somewhere. Scroll to top. Where's your download? Oh, there we go. Download. And I'll add that widget in. Let's go into library. And week 4, live session. This is my first time using this widget, so we'll see how well it works with this version of Views. Yep, that's fine. All right. Let's see. So let's go. It should probably go on my master and my footer, honestly. So let's see what this bad boy looks like. We drag it out. It can't look like that. Let me see. Color, icon style. Let's try white. It's going on a black background. Height, width, radius. Huh. I have a feeling that we're going to have to preview this to even see what this looks like. Because I can't imagine that it actually looks like this. All right, let's preview this in the browser. This is where those where Adobe's like, no, we're not going to allow third-party widgets anymore. And then the options, oh, here it is. Oh, okay, so it just, interesting. All right, so that does need to be black then, or a different color. Master. Icon. Let's go with the blue. And I bet you can normally see the option, however, because we can't see any options right now. Button style, white. Maybe make it that light blue. And preview again. So this is where it can get a little bit annoying because you gotta keep going back and previewing things and going back and previewing things and yada, yada, yada. Oh, there we go. All right, that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna leave that as an option. So I've got some scrolly features going on here. We even move it down just a little smidge. I don't know if that even matters. It's hard to tell. All right, so the homepage is looking pretty done to me right now. And I kind of want to follow a similar setup in my dining page. So I'm actually going to make my life really easy, and I'm going to copy what I have in my homepage, and I'm going to just literally paste it into my dining page, and then just switch out some of the information. Let me copy that. Because you know what? There should be some consistency to my site. So why reinvent the wheel? Do paste in place. And let's open up my dining page. And don't save. I don't know what I did. All right, so I've got where and what to eat on Martha's Vineyard this summer. I have a feeling that's going to fit on 2 lines. So I'll enter a manual return there. And move all this information down. Give them a little bit of room between my headline and my image. And I'm going to swap out this image. So we're going to replace image. I just right click and hit replace image. And find that seafood dinner picture. And just crop this. And center that. There we go. And I'm starving. I didn't eat yet because we had no groceries, which is why the dog was barking. And here's my text for this area follows right along with my paragraph theme. And then I have featured restaurant, the Lookout Tavern. So I don't really need a tabbed panel right here. But it might be good to have this anchor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually rename this anchor from Ferry to Dining. And set this as a hyperlink to Dining. And I'm going to make a copy of this text box so they're on the same plane. Drag that over. Just change the font color. Oh, I did have multiple ones. Oh, whoops. Hold on. That's all right. Command Z is your friend. Can't see what I'm convincing. There we go. All right. There we go. I am, however, still going to rename this anchor to Dining because I want to just be sure that, you know, if I move one, honestly, it's just good to not have two on the same page name the same exact thing, or two on two different pages name the same thing. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing. Featured restaurant. Again, I can just kind of copy and paste this information in and follow along with what I already have here. Whoops, not Lookout Tavern. That would go next. Change my hyperlink. I don't want it to link, obviously, to the Island Queen anymore. I want it to link to the Lookout Tavern. So change that. There we go. Change out this image. I'm just going to go to replace image and switch it out for a lobster roll. Crop this, but then make it larger. Oops. And apparently they have the best lobster roll. I'll be the judge of that, though. And you know what I want to do? I want to show you something else real quick that you can do, which is pretty cool. All right, hold on. I'm gonna make something real quick. I'm going to save this page as a PDF and put it in my images. Lookout menu. Which I apparently don't already have in here. All right. And close that. Okay. So I want to link this image right here to a PDF of their menu. Because why not? You know, I'm being super helpful and I am, you know, linking this restaurant's menu right on my site for them. You know, maybe they're paying me some money to do this. So I'm going to click on the image and I'm going to go to where you would normally add a URL hyperlink, and I'm going to link it to a file. And then I'm going to navigate over to where I have that file saved, which is my PDF file. Click open. So now when somebody clicks on this image, it'll open up the lookout menu. I'm hoping it'll open it up correctly in a new tab. Sometimes it kind of depends on how your browser deals with this. Sometimes it'll download it first, but ultimately I want it to open in a new tab. Down. Oh, and I almost forgot to, this is the Lookout Tavern. And quickly just do the other two. Whoops, need to go to Word. The net result. Just gonna do all the tabs first up at the top. It'll probably make my life so much easier. So in the net result, again, I gotta change that URL. Grab their URL, switch it out. Make sure it opens in a new tab. It still does. And grab the rest of the listing. And then I noticed I had some things set bold, so I'm going to need to address that because obviously that didn't copy over. Pro bold. Oh, I believe it was this part. Probably best sushi 5 years in a row. Oh no, it was the best lobster roll. That's what it was. Go. Result. And Linda Jeans. And another way that I can do this is I can just select everything. It's going to put it all as paragraph text and then just change this to my H2 tag and add in a hyperlink. Linda Jeans, Martha's Vineyard. Go. Open that in a new tab. And I believe I had, oh, here we go. Yep, I had a sidebar section, best places to eat. So I'm going to grab all this information. I'm going to show you another trick. Paste that in. So, I think this is an H2. I'm going to remove the numbers. Because as you can see, the spacing isn't really good. And change that font color. So I'm going to select the whole list. And up here, I'm going to create a numbered list, just like that. I need to adjust my rectangle a bit. And then move some of these down. There we go. And save this page. And I've already gotten 2 pages, 2 whole pages done. So, you know, if I was coding this, I'd still be probably creating my menu at this point in Dreamweaver. You know, doing all of that coding and the CSS and everything else. I mean, I probably don't have to sell Muse to you guys at this point, but I feel like the Muse spokesperson every single time I teach a Muse class, because, you know, it's just so awesome, you know, how quick and easy it is to do things in Muse as compared to coding it. All right, so let's take a look again, preview our site in the browser, make sure everything we did is actually working. We can check out that PDF that we made. All right, so I got my Getting to Martha's Vineyard, scrolls me down. Island Queen Ferry should open up a new tab now. It does. Happier with that color scheme. Make sure like Instagram opens in a new tab. It does. Facebook opens in a new tab. It does. Twitter opens in a new tab. Awesome. I've got my scroll to the top. It works. Let's go to our dining page. That's kind of weird, but I think that's just a random Muse thing. Scrolls me down. Ooh, that's a little low. I might need to move that up a smidge. A smidge. Lookout Tavern is my featured restaurant. I don't know why it automatically opened up on my, that's weird. It opened up on the last tab that I was on when I saved it. That's kind of bizarre. Opens up that PDF file in a new tab. Awesome. I mean, I would hope that they would have a better version of their menu that they would give me if I was being so nice. Check the link. Works. Net result. Linda Jeans. Perfect. I got my best places to eat and scroll me back up to the top, and then I shouldn't have anything on my other two pages, and my logo should bring me back to my home page. Boom. 2 pages done and designed. All right. So we've got about like 15, 20 minutes. So I think what I'm going to do is, now before I go on to a different page, is there anything that I can go over for you guys that you would like, you know, not, I'm going to go over in detail, you know, adding in the breakpoints and the SEO tomorrow, but is there anything kind of design-wise that I can go over for you? Just kind of like the basic layout of the page instead of, or do you want me to just keep going? Okay, awesome. Because I'm taking requests. All right, so I'm going to do the contact page next and get that form done, I think. And then if I can, I'll also get the about page done. All right, so I have a little privacy policy. I have a sidebar section, and I'm going to insert a form. All right. So we'll do the form part first. Close you, widgets. Then do a detailed contact form. Drop that bad boy in. Change the email. After sending, I want it to go to my thank you page. I want email, name, cell. I don't need their work address or their company. Message is good. And I'm going to do a checkbox. Whoops, not a checkbox, label. I want to do a checkbox group. Delete this and this. checkbox group. There we go. And that is it. All right. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to change it to my correct. No. First grab this and change this to regular. I want to move my cell phone up. Checkbox group up. And my message up. And my submit and the form received part up, but a little bit further down. And change you to bold. Nope, not all of you, just you. Click, 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 click. Bold. And oh, oops. And grab my trusty rectangle because I'm right on the bottom here. And 16 is a better size. And randomly enough, I kind of like the gray, but I'm going to make it just that a little bit darker for the text color. However, inputs color, not feeling the gray. Come on. Okay, that's bizarre. Empty, not empty. Roll over. Make the rollover yellow with blue, because that's pretty. Focus. Everything's got like a weird stroke on it. Error. Yeah, error should definitely be red. Empty, non-empty. There we go. All right. And checkbox group is going to say, how did you hear about us? But I need a few more options. Okay. So first one's going to be social media. Word of mouth. Radio ad. And other. And then my message, and submit. Let's fix that submit button. No border. Rollover. No stroke. Mouse down. And submit in progress. All right, and move this text box up. Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, it's one big thing. Of course it is. There we go. Sometimes you get a manual, it like doesn't fit manually. It says it's centered, but it's totally not centered. All right. And I also wanted to put on this page you know, a sidebar section that says, please feel free to contact us with any questions or concerns you may have. I think it's always good on a contact page to put your actual email address and your phone number, especially for your portfolio sites. What if your form's not working? Or what if they want to call you? You know, so I think it's really good to have kind of like a sidebar section, especially on these portfolio sites where you have, you know, other means of contacting you. So let me copy and paste this in. And I'm going to just refer back to my other pages to see how wide I made that sidebar area. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, don't ask. And pull this up. I feel like this is not, oh, I'm missing, yeah. Like, I feel like this is not the same. There we go. Right? Nope. Probably easier if I just copied and pasted this box. There we go. All right. For consistency reasons, my text box. I have to copy that contact info in again. All right, so I've got, please feel free to contact us with any questions or concerns you might have. Because my email address is so long, what I am going to do is I'm just going to create a hyperlink for my email. Mail to. And I'm going to make that a little bit bold. I'm going to make my call us bold. And I'm going to make my phone number a hyperlink as well. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger than I normally would. Maybe 20-point type. And maybe I'll put a little image in here. A little map to the beach or something. There we go. And I need to add that privacy policy in. So I'm gonna drag this bad boy down. And that privacy policy can be small if you ever decide to do a privacy policy. Honestly, nobody's gonna read it. That's my feelings on a privacy policy. Like, nobody is reading this. So it's okay to make that like 8-point type. I would keep the same font size. I mean, that would even probably make it light. 8-point type. Maybe make, you know, the words privacy policy a little bit bigger. And just kind of drag it out of the way of your design. Am I forgetting anything else? No. And I think my form needs to just be a little bit wider to fill in this space. I hate how it doesn't drag your message box too. It's like, I'll do all of them but the message box. There we go. Save this, preview it, and we're pretty much right on time for what I wanted to get done today. Your privacy policy is more like, I promise if you send me an email, I'm not going to sell your email address to a third party, things like that. Like, you can feel safe sending me a message on my site that I'm not going to sell your information. That's pretty much what your privacy policy is. Whenever I have to add one, I pretty much just Google privacy policy because they're pretty standard. All right, so we're good there. Let's go to my contact page and check that out. So again, this is working. This is pretty much like, you know, just nice and small. Down at the bottom, email. Probably just gonna open up my Gmail. It's fine. Call us will actually open up my FaceTime, which is bizarre every time it does that. Back to the homepage. All right, so that is pretty much what I wanted to go over tonight. Again, I just wanted to kind of make a site from scratch so I can go over all the different things that we went over so far this mod. Tomorrow, what we're going to do is I'll probably finish that about page and add the SEO in for all of the images and all of the pages. And also we'll make it responsive, so we'll get as far as we can with adding breakpoints to the master page and to each of the pages. And that is about it for this evening. So if anybody has any questions between now and tomorrow, please feel free to send me an email. That is about it. I'm going to stop the recording right now, and I will be available. Hold on one second.